So first let's explore the power of pause. What is pause? What does it mean, the power of pause? So I want to invite you, whatever you're doing right now, don't even change your posture. Just get present. Just pause. So as you pause, first of all, good job. As you pause, what did you notice? When I ask my audiences what they noticed, the responses I typically get are, I felt a certain calmness, or I noticed a lot of thoughts, or I noticed sounds in the room which I hadn't noticed before, or something in me just settled. These are typical responses. And they all have to do with noticing. Either you notice thoughts, or you notice sounds, or you notice a certain calmness that's underlying whatever was going on. So try it one more time, all right? So pause. And this time the question is different. In the last few seconds, as you paused, did you have any problems? This is a favorite question. I love to ask this question. And no matter how big the audience, I never get anyone raising their hands. The only time they do raise their hands is when they say, oh, I was thinking. But the instruction was never to not think. You can think if you like. But pause. Did you have any problems? So no matter how large the audience, everyone recognizes that in the last few seconds, when they were fully pausing in the present moment, there was no problem. Now this is a huge insight. And the insight goes like this. In the present moment, there are never any problems. Life is very simple. One of my teachers I admire very much, Nisargadatta Maharaj, he said it like this, that nothing can trouble you but your own imagination. And notice, imagination has to do with memory and has to do with anticipation of the future. Nothing can trouble you but your own imagination. How do you recognize the truth of this? It's you pause. The practice is to pause. Now, short moments of pausing throughout the day doesn't have to be long. Could be 5 seconds, could be 10 seconds. Don't you have to close your eyes and take on any special posture. Just pause, inwardly pause. I would call this the most powerful transformation tool on the planet. And how can I make such a bold claim? It's the most powerful transformation tool on the planet. Because all the great things I've learned that have really helped me, whether it's meditation, whether it's being in nature, whether it's prayer, whether it's making an intention, whatever I've learned, if I'll go deep into it, it all comes down to pausing. So this is something so simple and so powerful. The power of pause. And we're going to explore this more deeply with a few different tools that you can actually start applying that will enable you to bring the power of pause into your life. So one of the simplest ways we can practice the power of pause, let me illustrate it through an incident. So I've had a chance to address many audiences, and one thing I notice is when I'm speaking and someone's mobile phone rings, immediately there's a certain tension in the room. And everyone's kind of looking at who's the culprit, and the mobile phone is ringing. And I notice everyone frowns, including the person who's poor fellow trying to put this phone off. So I notice whenever the phone rings in a session, people stop breathing and they frown. So I decided to turn that around. So every time in my sessions, a phone rings, I invite everyone, stop what you're doing, take a deep breath. So follow me, take a deep breath. And smile. And say, let's say together, how wonderful. And people find that really funny. And it is funny. Because our normal reaction is to get all clamped, get all tight, and to frown. And so now this simple example of deep breath and smile, instead of shaming and blaming the person, because the truth is they probably innocently forgot to put their phone off. So this simple example actually applies to our whole life. Whenever an unwanted thing happens, we tend to shrink, we tend to contract, we tend to stop breathing, and we frown. And we say, how, I'll fill in the blanks, I won't fill in the blank, let you fill in the blank, right? How terrible, or whatever it is. So the simple practice we've developed of just welcoming what happens. Take a deep breath, smile, and say, how wonderful. Wholeheartedly say, how wonderful. Now, this applies not only to when the phone rings, although that's a great time to do it, any time in your life. For example, you missed the bus. So instead of getting upset, take a deep breath, smile, how wonderful. Now that you missed the bus, what can you do about it? Can we find some other way to get to work? Or maybe it's a good opportunity to take a holiday. In every situation, when you start saying how wonderful, take a deep breath and smile. You're developing the capacity to convert a challenging situation into an opportunity. You're learning the art of being present, and this is an example of the power of pause. So try it throughout your day, whenever an unwanted thing happens. For example, someone criticizes you. Don't respond immediately. Take a deep breath. Maybe you don't say, well, how wonderful, it won't work. But you can take a deep breath and you can pause. And then from that place, you can respond in a much more mindful, much more clear way. So please try that. Let's end with take a deep breath. Smile. How wonderful. In computer terminology, there's a nice phrase. It's known as GIGO, which stands for garbage in, garbage out. What does that mean? It means if you're putting in garbage programming, garbage code, you're going to get garbage results. For example, in a computer, a program that causes damage is known as a virus. And to remove the virus, we have another program known as an antivirus. Now the question is, which is the world's most powerful computer? I love to ask this question. People are a little confused, and then finally someone gets it and says, hey, it's the human brain. You're right, the human brain, by far, is the most complex thing that scientists have ever come across in the known universe. So this is a really powerful computer. You could expand that from the brain into the mind. Our mind is the most powerful supercomputer. Now, in the mind, the programs that flow are known as thoughts. Now, there are 4 kinds of thoughts. When we have disastrous thoughts, garbage in, garbage out, we have disastrous results. Now you tell me what happens next. When we have negative thoughts, that's right, negative results. Positive thoughts, positive results. And now how about miraculous thoughts? We're bound to have miraculous results. So what I'm interested in is positive and miraculous thoughts, high quality programming that we put into our system. However, before we go there, let's just talk about how do you deal with the low quality thoughts. And here's a simple practice. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's not powerful. I'm going to right now go ahead and install an antivirus in your supercomputer. Don't worry, it's shareware. You can share with other people. And you can also uninstall it if you don't like it. And the antivirus goes like this. Anytime in the day you feel, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, it's too difficult, any such thought that's limiting you and making it look really tiring and difficult to do something, any such limiting thought, you immediately say, cancel. If the thought comes again and again, you say, cancel, cancel, cancel. You can either say it aloud or you can say it in your own mind. What a simple tool. Throughout the day when you have a thought, a self-defeating thought, smile and say, cancel. And this is a really nice game to play with yourself. I had a lady, I was teaching in Hyderabad, and she met me about 6 months after my program. And she said, Nitya, what have you taught me? After you taught me cancel, I found I was saying cancel all day long. I was saying cancel 300 times a day. One morning I woke up, the first thought I had to cancel. Then she said, however, as I kept doing it, it started reducing. It went from 300 to 200, 200 to 100, 100 to 10. And in a month's time, I canceled the cancel. So how beautiful is that? In just a short period of time, in about a month's time, by using this simple practice, she was able to cancel the cancel, which means she barely has to use cancel anymore. She's become much more mindful of her own thinking. I was doing a session once, and in the break time, a gentleman approached me and said, Nitya, you taught us cancel. I liked it. I tried it. It seemed to work. But after a while, it stopped working. So what did I say to him? Cancel. One more thing to cancel. You see, don't get fooled by your own thinking. Don't say, oh, this is too simple, it can't work for me. It's very important to realize, give it a fair try, and you'll be amazed by the power of the simple tool. Some of you are computer people, you might prefer the word delete. Doesn't matter, the word is not so important. Some people even joke, they say, we like Control, Alt, Delete. So go with the word that suits you. Cancel is simple enough for most of us. And you'll find the simple way of pausing, catching yourself, being aware of what is happening. You'll come out of your self-defeating thinking. And this is a wonderful tool. Let's all use it. Not only with ourselves, but when other people come and try to give us a negative thought, we can inwardly say cancel. I've learned to outwardly say cancel. They get quite shaken up. What do you mean, cancel? I said, why would I want to believe that? That's a low quality thought. And like this, we teach everyone in our family, in our friend circle, the power of cancel, and we laugh a lot. It's a beautiful, beautiful, simple, and joyful tool to use. So try the power of cancel. So one of the most amazing things I learned is what is known as what the thinker thinks, the prover proves. We have an amazing capacity in our mind that whatever we think, our frontal cortex thinks, we'll find evidence for it. We'll look into our memory, the back part of our brain. We'll find memories to back up what we think and believe. And we'll find reasons for it. So what the thinker thinks, the prover proves. In the Vedas it says, Yatha drishti, tatha shrishti. When I change my way of looking at things, the things I look at change. A little while back we talked about the example of cancel and using cancel as an antivirus. Since we've learned an antivirus, let's also now learn a very helpful, beneficial program, and it's just 2 words. And it goes like this. No matter what happens, you smile and say, how wonderful. So throughout the day, different things will happen. And no matter what happens, you smile and say, how wonderful. And the funny thing is, the moment you say how wonderful, a part of your brain gets confused and say, hey, what's wonderful about that? And because what the thinker thinks, the prover proves, it starts finding reasons why it's wonderful. Now let me give you a few examples of this. So it's the time of the year to pay taxes. And you're looking at this really big tax amount that you have to pay to the government. So instead of getting all agitated and upset and feeling that you've lost something, you smile and say, what do you say? How wonderful. And the moment you say that, then you say, well, what's wonderful about paying taxes? And you slow down and realize, wow, that means I'm employed. Only if you're employed, only if you're earning money can you pay taxes. There are a lot of people in our country who are unable to pay taxes because they are below the line where they can barely even make enough money for themselves. So if you're paying taxes, it means you're employed. That's one example. It's summertime and you have a huge electricity bill. How wonderful. I'm so lucky to have so many modern appliances. I have all the things, the television, the air conditioning, the dishwasher, the washing machine, all of this. Oh, how wonderful. There's something to be thankful for. Let's try another one. The lawn needs mowing. The windows need cleaning. The sofa needs fixing. How wonderful. I have a home to live in. My teenager is in the room with the door locked and loud music playing. How wonderful. They're at home. They're not out wandering the street somewhere. They're not with some strangers, maybe doing some activities that may be dangerous for them. How wonderful. People keep complaining about the government. How wonderful. We live in a country where we can complain about the government. Do you know that there are countries in the world where if you complain about the government, overnight you may disappear and no one will know where you've gone? So even something like complaining, we can say how wonderful. We have the right to freedom of speech. And here's the last one. The alarm clock rings early in the morning. How wonderful, I'm still alive. Do you know how many people never woke up this morning? Right? So you've got another day. You've got another day, it's a gift. When we get a gift, the only appropriate response is gratitude. The fact that you woke up today. Do you know there may be someone else in the world exactly your age who perhaps didn't wake up this morning? Is that possible? Someone exactly your age, somewhere in the world, never got to see this morning. But you got to see it. When you get something without doing anything for it, it's known as a gift. And we tell our children, when you get a gift, doesn't matter if you like it or not, you always say, what do you say? Thank you. Right? So we're learning to say, thank you, how wonderful. So you've been given this gift of life, and one of the most powerful things I've learned is never complain about your life. Because someone somewhere dreams of having a life just like yours. So when you catch yourself complaining, cancel, and no matter what happens, you say, how wonderful. Take these simple tools, they'll take you a long way. Use it in your family, use it in your team, use it wherever you go. These simple things create a shift because what the thinker thinks, the prover proves. Garbage in, garbage out. Yatha drishti, tatha shrishti. When you have miraculous thoughts, how wonderful, you have a miraculous life. It's a wonderful life. So when I invite people to pause and to be present, a common question I get is, how do you pause? How do you be present? So let me share with you 3 gates to presence. 3 gates that bring us into the present moment, which is the way to pause. The first gate is sense experience. So what are our sense doors? There's sight, what I'm seeing. There's sound, what I'm hearing. Touch, the sensations of touching things, the feeling in the body. Smell, taste. These are the main sense doors, the main 5 sense doors. Now, sense experience is always in the present moment. When you're seeing in the present. Hearing, touching, smelling and tasting, all in the present moment. The first gate to presence is simply noticing what you're seeing. Without the narrative, without the commentary. Just notice, what are you seeing? Notice what you're hearing. Let's just try it now. I'm just going to mention the sense doors. I want you to experience them. All right? So let your eyes gently move around the room and notice the different colors, different shapes, without adding any label to anything. And now come to the sense door of sound. Notice all the different sounds, human, non-human, ambient, distant sounds, without adding any label. Your eyes can either be open or closed. And now bring your attention to touch. First, notice the touch of your body on the chair or the seat that you're sitting on. Notice which parts of your body you're touching. Notice that. Also now notice the touch of your clothing on the body. Is it constricted in any part of the body? How does it touch and feel in any part of the body? And go ahead and touch anything near you. Feel the texture. Could even be your own skin. Just touch, notice texture. Ah, that's texture. Could be anything around you, close to you. Could even be your clothing. That's the sense door of touch. And now smell, taste. Let's combine smell and taste. See if you can smell or taste anything. One thing interesting I noticed is when the nose is closed, you can't taste. Try that sometime. You eat food, close the nostrils, you won't get any taste. There's a deep connection between smell and taste. When we have a cold, we often can't get taste. In one of my sessions, someone said that that's why when you're giving children bitter medicine, you close their nose. They don't taste the medicine. So that's the first gate to presence, the sense doors. Come to the awareness of all of these sense doors right away you're in the present moment. The second gate to presence. Now this is known as the inner feeling of aliveness. Any part of your body that's alive has a certain feeling associated with it. So one way I teach people to do this is I invite them to just put their hands out where it's not touching anything. And you can try that. Just put your hands out, not touching anything. And now maybe just close your eyes. And suppose we remove the memory of what your hands look like. Suppose you have no such memory. How do you know you have hands? And you can open your eyes. And most people say they can feel a certain gentle tingling, a gentle flow of energy, a sensation, a pulsing, a vibrating, a warmth, some kind of a sensation. This is the feeling of aliveness. Now go ahead with eyes open or closed. Experience that throughout the body. Go ahead, do that now. From the top of the head to the tips of the toes. Can you directly experience your body without the memory of what the body looks like? Wonderful. You have just been introduced to the second gate to presence. The first gate, notice, is about outer objects, outer events, outer people, outer things. All our sense doors are pointing outwards. The second one is the inner feeling of aliveness. This is the deeper gate to the present. It's a very important gate for what we're learning here. We're learning the 4 elements of leading from within: pausing, feeling, intending, and connecting. This is a very crucial gate. It's a direct experience of what you're feeling right now. This is the deeper part of your mind. And everything you're doing is coming from this foundation, this basis. We're doing all of this in our life to want to feel better. If you're not aware of this feeling, we're living an unconscious life. The second important gate is the inner feeling of aliveness. The third important gate, now this is a bit subtle, but I think you can get this. The third gate is known as consciousness. If I was to give you a piece of paper and a pen and I ask you to write down all the things that are in the room, most people will talk about the furniture, the people, the things, the carpeting, the lighting, all of that. But most people will miss the biggest thing in the room. What do you think is the biggest thing in the room? It's the space in the room. The space is the biggest thing in the room, but most people miss it. In the same way, when we describe our life, we talk about our body, we talk about our feelings and our thoughts and our memories and our plans and our intentions, but most people miss the most fundamental thing: consciousness. Even a dead body has got eyes, has got a nose, has got a body, but there is no seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, feeling. It's not there. What's missing? Consciousness is missing. So what enables the first 2 gates of presence, which are sense experience and inner feeling of aliveness, is the third one, consciousness. And what we mean by consciousness is, even now as you're listening to me, just be aware that you're listening. As you're seated, be aware that you're sitting. When walking, be aware that you're walking. When talking, be aware that you're talking. You know, I can talk to you now, unconscious of the fact that I'm talking, lost in my thoughts. Or I can talk to you with full awareness, there is talking happening right now. It's a deeper level of consciousness. It's a place of being alert, awake, and knowing what's happening. And that's an aspect known as consciousness, to be aware of what's going on. People ask me, well, what's the value of that? It's like watching a movie and being caught up in the storyline, getting so caught up, getting all of these emotional reactions in the movie, and the whole time knowing it's just a movie. One participant asked me, but then you can't enjoy the movie. And I can understand. It looks like you can't enjoy the movie because you've only experienced that level of experience, getting fully involved in your life, going through the ups and downs of your life in that way, the movie of your life. However, there is a deeper experience. It's called happiness for no reason. And this is where we simply allow life to flow on the way it wants to, fulfill itself. And this is a deeper kind of happiness. It's the happiness of consciousness. In India, this is known as Sat Chit Ananda. Truth, consciousness, and bliss. It's a happiness for no reason, which does not fluctuate by the changing events of our life. So keep these 3 gates in mind, and they will be very helpful for you throughout the day. As you pause, notice what you're seeing, experiencing, all the sense doors. Notice the inner feeling, and also be aware that you are aware. And in this way, you will naturally grow in the ability to pause and access your own inner wisdom. Now, since we're talking about the power of pause, one of the very helpful practices that helps us learn how to pause throughout the day is known as meditation. What does meditation mean? Meditation is an intimate meeting with yourself. It's being aware of what is happening. And notice, in that definition, there was no description of a particular posture or a particular technique. Any posture, any technique, if you are deeply connecting with yourself and you are aware of what is happening, that is meditation. Awareness of what is happening, and perhaps deeper awareness of awareness. I'm going to share with you now a very simple practice. It's known as one moment meditation. And one moment meditation comes from a teacher called Marty Borison. And what he found was that instead of trying to meditate for longer and longer periods, suppose we were to actually meditate for less and less time. Because ultimately meditation is about being in the present, right? And it takes no time to be timeless. It takes no time to be present. So he came up with an innovation known as one moment meditation, which actually starts with 1 minute. So what you'll do in this is, and maybe just try this with me, so you're just going to sit up straight in your chair, give a nice straight back, and keep your feet flat on the floor. You can either keep your hands, the palms facing down on the knees, or if you like, they can just be interlaced with each other, whatever just feels comfortable to you. And then you can slowly close your eyes, keeping a gentle smile on the face. And now, for 1 minute, you will be aware of the flow of your natural respiration. You'll be aware of the flow of your breath. And so I'll tell you when to start, and I'll tell you when to stop. You can start now. And please take a slow, deep breath and gently open your eyes. You just practiced the basic minute of one moment meditation. And what you do in this is you just sit quietly, close your eyes, and you're aware of the natural flow of your respiration. If your mind wanders, which you might have noticed it does, don't feel defeated, don't feel disappointed. It's very natural, it wanders. We bring it back. It'll wander, smilingly bring it back. If you want, you can even say in your mind, how wonderful, and just bring it back. And like this, you'll find, as you keep doing this, your ability to be more present starts getting developed. Although at deep down, you're always present. We're not aware of it. We're getting in touch with this aspect of our being. Now, how do you practice this? For the first month, you will practice what's called the basic minute, which means once a day, any time of the day, morning is good, any time is good. You'll close your eyes, you'll set your watch or your timer. Most phones have a timer these days. Set a timer. Make sure you're not going to be disturbed. And for 1 minute, close your eyes and be aware of your natural breathing. That's called the basic minute. So all you do is 1 minute, any time in the day. And now, whenever you have free time, and sometimes you're waiting in line or we're stuck in traffic or there are many other opportunities through the day, you can do another minute. That's called a bonus minute. So whenever you have free time in the day, do more. Why not? Extra credit, right? So do many more such minutes throughout the day. It's called bonus minutes. And especially when you're agitated about something, upset about something, you have to make an important decision and you're feeling uncertain, that's the time to do another minute. That's known as an emergency minute. So you'll notice when the mind is calmer, you make better decisions. So we've learned basic minute, bonus minute, and emergency minute. Try that for the first month. In the second month, make one change. Start counting the number of breaths and see on average in a minute how many times do you breathe. Could be anywhere from 10 to 15 to even 25 times. People have different breathing rhythms and different breathing speeds. See for you what is the average. And this is the average which you'll now just count. So now whatever the average is, suppose it's 16 breaths. So your basic minute will now include not using a timer or a watch, but just counting 16 breaths. Counting 16 such breaths. And then you stop. That's your basic minute. You'll still do bonus minute and emergency minute, but you'll count this time. And because it's counting, it's called a portable minute. So it's portable, no need for a device or a watch anymore. Second month. Third month, do something different. Start reducing the number of breaths. So if you were doing 16 breaths, now only do 14 breaths. Now only do 12 breaths. Keep coming backwards, week by week, reduce it little by little, until at the end of the month, you're just doing one single breath. And when you're just taking a single breath, now it's very easy for you to access the natural peace, the natural power of pause, which is always already here. It's known as happiness for no reason. So what a simple practice. 1 moment meditation, starting with basic minute, bonus minute, emergency minute. Second month, portable minute, you're counting your breaths. And the third month, you start reducing the number of breaths until you come down to a single breath. Ultimately, just in a moment, you access that same power of pause. So if you find this interesting and meaningful, let's start practicing 1 moment meditation. So as we are practicing the power of pause, we want to make this a part of our lives. And one, of course, is spontaneously, whenever you remember to pause, that's a great time to do it. But let's also align it with certain activities we do every day. And one thing we do every day is we eat food. So we have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and perhaps other times in between. So one thing I'd like to invite you to do is recognize that a lot of people have worked hard to give you that food. Farmers have worked, people have transported it, people have brought it to your home, sold it, brought it to your home, cooked the food, and then presented it to you. So a lot of humans and non-humans and a lot of elements of nature have come together to give you that food. It is appropriate for us to have a moment of gratitude. So one thing I invite you to do is just to pause before you eat your food. Just look at the food, appreciate the colors, appreciate the smells. What I like to do is to look at my food until my mouth gets moist. I start salivating. It means my body is now ready to have this food. So look at the food, and I actually like to put my hands around the food like that. Just bless the food. You could even do it like this. Or even if your hands are down, just take a pause. Take a moment. Could be for a minute or even less, doesn't matter. Stop and pause. And now eat mindfully. What does it mean to eat mindfully? So when you have prepared a bite, a spoonful, and you put it in your mouth, put the spoon down and wait until you finish chewing this bite. What often happens is we're chewing this bite and we're already preparing the next bite. Or we're chewing this bite and we're talking to other people. Alright? So get a little more mindful. And when you put the bite in your mouth, put the spoon down, and now wait until you finish chewing this bite and swallowing it, and now prepare the next bite. Appreciate what's happening now. In this way, and I know this takes practice because our mind, we are habituated to eating a certain way, but try it sometime. And especially the first time you do it, you might want to have a silent meal. Just sit quietly and begin with a little moment of pause and gratitude, thankfulness, and now start eating mindfully in this way. You'll notice a few things. Number one, you enjoy your food more. You notice more tastes. And another simple and powerful thing is you don't overeat because you're much more in tune with how much food you need. People are amazed that a lot less food satisfies them. So what a simple way of enjoying your food and also being healthy because you don't gain weight if you're overeating, right? So practice mindful eating, mindful pausing, and this is known as savoring. What does it mean to savor? To savor means to not just be in the present, to enjoy being in the present. And when you're eating food, that's a great time to practice savoring. So enjoy mindful eating.